Have you ever been in a situation where a problem was already bad and then someone did or said something that made it even worse? Maybe two coworkers are arguing and another employee starts taking sides. Your friend is already upset and someone makes a rude joke. Your spouse is angry and you bring up another complaint from last month. Instead of helping the situation, they make it worse. Americans have a very common expression for this. We say, add fuel to the fire. Today, I'll teach you what this idiom means, how Americans really use it, as well as go over some common mistakes English learners make, and we will end with some pronunciation practice. Let's get started. So what does add fuel to the fire mean? Imagine a real fire. If a fire is burning and someone pours more gasoline or adds wood to it, what happens? Well, the fire gets bigger. It becomes more intense. And that's exactly what this idiom means. To add fuel to the fire means to make an already bad situation worse. And usually this happens because of something someone says, something someone does, or an action that increases anger, stress, conflict, or problems. Some examples are, the argument was already heated and his comment added fuel to the fire. Or the company was facing criticism and the CEO's statement added fuel to the fire. Don't bring up politics at dinner. You'll just add fuel to the fire. Now, to make sure that this idiom makes sense, we're going to look at some real life examples of how Americans actually use this idiom. I want you to picture Sarah. Sarah was already frustrated with her husband, Mike. For weeks, Mike had been coming home late from work. He wasn't helping with the dishes. He wasn't helping with the kids. He kept leaving his clothes on the floor. Sarah had been trying to stay calm, but she was reaching her limit. One evening, Mike came home almost an hour late. Sarah was clearly upset. Instead of apologizing, Mike walked into the kitchen and said, "What's for dinner?" Sarah just stared at him. Then Mike looked around and said, "Wow, the house is kind of messy today." That was a terrible thing to say. Sarah was already angry, and his comments made her even angrier. Mike didn't calm the situation. He added fuel to the fire. Now, I want you to imagine an employee who was always late. Kevin had a reputation at work. He was late almost every day. 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, sometimes 20 minutes late. His manager had already spoken to him several times. His coworkers were frustrated because they often had to cover his responsibilities. One Monday morning, Kevin arrived 30 minutes late. Everyone in the office noticed. His manager called him into her office. She was already upset, but instead of apologizing, Kevin laughed and said, "Relax. It's not like anything important happens in the first half hour anyway." The manager couldn't believe what she heard. Now, she was even more annoyed. Kevin's joke didn't help. It added fuel to the fire. A few days later, he received a formal warning. Now, I want you to imagine two neighbors, Tom and David, and they were having problems. David's dog kept digging holes near the property line. Tom had complained several times. The situation was already tense. One Saturday morning, Tom discovered another large hole in his yard. He walked over to David's house to discuss it. The conversation started calmly. Then David said, "Maybe if you took better care of your yard, you wouldn't notice a few holes." Now, Tom was furious. The discussion immediately became an argument. The situation had been manageable before, but David's comment added fuel to the fire. And soon, both neighbors were yelling at each other across the street. Now, you'll often hear this expression when people are discussing arguments, family conflicts, workplace problems, political debates, or in social media discussions. Some other examples are, posting that comment only added fuel to the fire. His reaction added fuel to the fire. The reporter's question added fuel to the fire. Don't add fuel to the fire. I want you to notice that Americans often use this idiom when they think someone is making a bad situation worse instead of helping. So there are a couple of mistakes that I want you to avoid. First, do not use it for new problems. Now, some learners use this idiom when a problem starts, and that's not correct. The situation must already be bad. We wouldn't say, my car broke down, so fuel was added to the fire. We would say, my car had already broken down, and then I got a parking ticket. That added fuel to the fire. The second mistake to avoid is to say, he put fuel on the fire. This is not correct. Remember, you have to say, he added fuel to the fire. Now, let's work on your pronunciation. Repeat after me. Add fuel to the fire. Add fuel to the fire. Add fuel to the fire. Idioms are one of the fastest ways to take your English to the next level. For more idioms in English, make sure to check out this video.